Heated Rivalry has absolutely beaten all possible odds. Who would have thought that a Canadian, small-budget male romance series featuring two rival hockey players called Ilya Rozanov and Hollander would completely blow up at the end of the year? The Crave original series, which premiered on the 28th of November 2025, has gone on to become the streamer's most watched original series. It was also picked up by HBO Max in the United States and in Australia, where, since its release, the show has claimed the second spot when it comes to bringing in first-time viewers to the platform. And if things just couldn't get better, the show was officially renewed for a second season on the 12th of December this year, and this second season should come out in 2027. Also, we cannot forget the huge fifth episode of the show titled I'll Believe in Anything, which had audiences so touched that the episode managed to claim a spot on IMDb's highest rated television episode rankings, attaining a rare perfect 10 out of 10 rating. I remember it was after Vogue posted a post to talk about this huge achievement that I finally decided to go and give the series a watch. And I am so grateful that I did watch it because Heated Rivalry has been one of the best things to happen to me this year. I literally finished the last episode and I needed to put in my earphones and go for a walk in the forest listening to Endgame by Taylor Swift just to process my emotions. And despite nearly a week having gone by since this last episode dropped, I know that I have so many moments during the day where I think about this series as a whole. Obviously, I was not the only one that this show left a mark on. I mean, everywhere I go on my For You page, I see people talking about having to wait a whole year before getting the second season. And to be honest, it isn't that huge because we have other shows taking so much longer. But I think this show left such a huge mark on people that we just can't figure out how we're gonna live without it. And obviously, as I was watching the show, I had so many moments where I thought to myself, how can a show with such a little marketing budget go on to become such a marketing success? And that's why I decided to put my marketing degree to use. And so today we're gonna be chatting about why I personally think that this show worked so well from a marketing perspective. I noted 3 main points, but I could talk about this for hours. And so that's why I really invite you to leave comments down below about different points that you think they did great when it comes to their marketing strategy. Hi, I'm Marvin, your favorite marketing student and part-time video essayist living here in France, and you're watching Mars Magazine. Just a little warning before we get started, I wanted to say that this video is gonna have some spoilers even though I tried to tone it down. So if you haven't watched all episodes of the show, I recommend that you go and do that, or else you can continue watching this video at your own risk. The first major reason I think this show has had such amazing success is the fact that it was a true and accurate adaptation of a story that had a loyal and established fan base. And it also managed to take advantage of a thriving BL romance market. So for all the people that have been living under a rock, Heated Rivalry is obviously an adaptation of Rachel Reid's Game Changer book series. This is a book series that debuted in 2018. It features books like Heated Rivalry, which is obviously where the show gets its name from, Game Changer, and The Long Game, which is actually the latest book in the series, having been released in 2022. All of the books were published by Carina Press, which was previously known as Harlequin Romance. Rachel got the inspiration for the books from a place of anger and annoyment for the hockey community, which was clearly homophobic. And I mean, this book series completely blew up, and it has more than an established audience. We have a statement from the publisher literally saying that since its release, Rachel Reid's 6-novel Game Changer series has sold over 650,000 copies. This basically means that we have over 650,000 fans that would be most likely thrilled with the TV adaptation as long as it stayed true to the original source material. It's also important to note that the boy love or BL genre has been quite popular for some time now.
Boy love is in.
Yeah.
And it actually goes back quite far. We can basically say that it dates back to the 1970s when female manga artists decided to experiment with stories focusing on the relationships between two male main characters. This new genre continued growing into the 1980s, where it started expanding outside of Asia. And like most things, when the internet came around, it took all of this to another level, with platforms like AO3, LiveJournal, and Tumblr. These stories slowly started growing and spreading, and this is when mass market publishers decided to grab a hold of them. Finally, Hollywood got a sniff of the success of this genre as well, and they decided to experiment with it on television too, notably with TV shows like Heartstopper and the movie Red, White, and Royal Blue. Jacob Tierney, the show's creator, writer, executive producer, and director, initially reached out to Rachel Reid in 2023, 4 to 3 days after Rachel had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Tierney had spent some of his time during the pandemic listening to the audiobooks after one of his friends recommended it to him, and he absolutely loved it. However, it was really only when he read a Washington Post article talking about the way the romance genre was $1 million industry that wasn't being taken seriously enough that he knew he had to adapt the Game Changer series. And that's when he DM'd Rachel on Instagram. After that initial DM, him and Rachel went on to have a Zoom call to talk about his vision of the show, and Rachel absolutely loved it. And if you're also loving this video so far, I would truly appreciate it if you subscribed and liked. I'm trying to hit 10k subscribers and I appreciate all the help. As surprising as it may seem for media that is centered on gay relationships, the target audience is actually women. As the show's creator said, "You'd never think it, but the baked-in audience for this is women. It's wine moms. They love this stuff." This is something very important. This means that if the initial female audience finds this show thrilling, emotionally grabbing, and just overall true to the original source material, they have a high chance of acting as advocates for the rest of the population, and notably, gay men. "We don't have to market this to the gay guys," said Tierney. "We just have to make sure the women that love the books like it. The gay guys will find it pretty quickly." And from a marketing perspective, I find this essential. You don't need to target everyone initially, especially if you don't have the budget. You have to focus your efforts on getting your main audience on board. And you have to trust that if you meet their expectations, they will then go on and do the heavy pulling and spread the word for you. And this is exactly how it was executed. The show managed to meet fans' expectations and even go beyond that. We could feel the fans' anticipation based on their reaction to the original pictures that were released as teasers, and also based on their reaction to the original trailer that dropped in October. The expectations of the author were also met. She was very vocal about how she was kept in the loop throughout the process and how she genuinely felt like the show respected her work. She also noted Tierney's ability to bring to life a high-beat romance book like hers. This leads me to my next point, the intimate scenes in the show. Because in all honesty, Heated Rivalry wouldn't be Heated Rivalry if it weren't for these crazy intimate scenes that took the internet by storm. I am certain that I was not the only one who during the first episode of the show had my jaw on the floor because at 17 minutes and 48 seconds, we already had an intense, intimate scene. And how do I know this exact timing? Because as I was watching this, I had to grab my notebook because I was so gagged, and I wrote down action at 17 minutes and 48 seconds with an exclamation mark. Rachel's books have what outsiders to the smut world would consider crazy action, but if you actually look into the genre, you would see that this is kind of the norm. However, when it comes to Hollywood, especially when it comes to queer and gay stories in Hollywood, we have never gotten this level of intimacy. Tierney knew that this quote-unquote spicy action was one of the cornerstones of the book and that it was important for the fans. This meant that if he decided to adapt these books, he would need to work really hard to really bring to life the same action but on screen. And that is exactly what he did. He specifically mentioned that he wrote all of these spicy scenes in very explicit detail, almost like a dance. "I wanted them to be choreographed like a dance," he explains. "What I know as an actor myself is that I don't want to improvise a scene. It's not fun." He also got some help from Chala Hunter, who was the intimacy coordinator for the show. And I mean, we can totally give her flowers because she absolutely nailed it. And I think all of this was so much easier with the chemistry that Hudson and Connor have. I think it is very obvious when you watch the interviews to see that these two have such amazing chemistry, and it's so refreshing, and you can really tell that on screen that really translates and brings to life this amazing combo. A little moment that I found especially cute is the fact that Tierney noted that after the days of shooting the spicy scenes, he would go through everything that they had shot and he would see Connor and Hudson checking up on each other while they were filming these spicy scenes, and his heart would just completely melt. And my heart melted too when I read this fact. The role of this spicy action is to get the audience initially hooked, but as the show advances, we can clearly tell that there is so much more depth to it. I mean, we have the hostile hockey world that Ilya and Shane find themselves in, we have their complex family dynamics, and we also have just the fundamental pain of not being able to be with the one that you actually truly love. All of this nuance is what the audience eventually stays for. In marketing, it is well known that everything new and novel gets people talking and excited. And they are new in the sense that we have never seen this level of closeness when it comes to gay intimate scenes on TV. And all of these spicy scenes provided the perfect fuel to get people talking. It feels fresh and new, and it gets people chatting everywhere. And one way the audience found to talk was through fan edits. I genuinely think that I could make a 50-minute video talking about the importance of social media edits in today's world. Edits have become such powerful tools to promote topics, people, or even shows. It has literally gotten to the point where political leaders across the globe use fan edits on their own personal accounts to promote themselves. When we look at it from a marketing point of view, edits are so powerful because they're generated by the audience themselves, and it means that on our end, we don't need to spend any extra money to promote the show. Social media edits also fundamentally focus on emphasizing the very best. They highlight the greatness of a person, a show, a topic, a concept, and just overall anything, because people make edits on absolutely everything. I mean, I have seen edits on water or fire. Like, come on, guys. The editors in the Heated Rivalry community were quick and effective, with edits garnering millions of views and likes, attracting visibility from people all across social media and not just in the Heated Rivalry community. Edits act as a sort of Trojan horse. They almost act as mini teasers for a show. I mean, you send an edit to one of your friends about this one hot guy, and then you send another edit, and then before you know it, your friend feels the need to actually go and watch the show, just to get the full experience of the show that you've actually been sending them edits about. I saw this one TikTok comment that perfectly illustrates this point. It's a comment that says, "I feel like the last several shows I have really gotten into, I actually gave a chance because of fan edits over traditional marketing." Talking about viewers, this leads me to my next point. Timing. Because timing is actually as important as what you're actually putting out there. And this show had some impeccable timing. Would you believe me if I told you that the show wasn't even supposed to come out in 2025? Initially, Bell Media and Crave were looking at a release in 2026, specifically in February 2026. However, as they kept on working on this show, they realized the powerful thing that they actually had in their hands, and they kept on moving up the date more and more. They initially went from February to January, and then they were like, maybe let's try Christmas. And then from Christmas, we got November 28th. And so we can kind of see the evolution there. And so why did they feel like they needed to release this so soon? Well, because the end of the year really corresponds to a peak time when it comes to television audiences. People are usually at home and there isn't much new content on traditional TV. And so as another executive producer said, we were like, we should try to get this on during the holidays and really capitalize on a lot of eyeballs. So we moved it up at the last minute. This really worked, and a perfect illustration of that was the fact that they managed to time the last episode of this series to drop on the 26th of December. And so everyone was talking about going to the cottage right around Christmas time. They basically managed to hijack Christmas, the holiday. I mean, that is the holiday to hijack. Everyone, instead of talking about the gifts that they were getting, were talking about going to the cottage. This is absolute marketing perfection. To finish off this video, I'd like to say that I cried at least like 5 times while watching this show, and that is a lot for me considering that I already have really super dry eyes, and then I'm on Accutane right now, so my eyes are super dry. And so if I cried, I think that shows how much I absolutely loved it. This show was truly a masterclass when it came to marketing, but not just marketing, it's also a masterclass when it comes to ingenuity. It proves that if you have a strong idea and great creativity, you can take a small budget and create a cultural phenomenon. 2026 hasn't even begun and I'm already counting down the days to 2027. In the meantime, I'm gonna be listening to all the artists featured on the Heated Rivalry soundtrack and making content for you guys. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you would like to see more in the future, make sure you subscribe and like, and I will see you very soon. Bisous, au revoir. Hi gorgeous, it's me. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, here's a video I think you might really enjoy.